Let's go to another story that has to do with murder and violent crime. The Slindelo Meyiwa murder trial has been postponed to Monday. This morning, the High Court in Pretoria has heard further evidence from forensic investigator Slindelo Masikane. He's acknowledged that he didn't take gunshot residue swabs from the people who were in the house at the time of the shooting. For more on the trial, let's go to eNCA reporter Slindelo Masikane, who's been following it for us. Sli, just give us a snippet of what happened in court today and more information on why we're seeing the postponement.
Maseko, well, we have wrapped up here in the North Gauteng High Court, but before I get to the reasons why, cross-examination subsequently did continue with Sergeant Thabo Mosia, Advocate Zandile Mshololo for accused number 5, going into more detail, breaking down why she believes that the crime scene was simply just not handled correctly in terms of the collection of the evidence. She has started off, or continued rather, with asking Mosia about who he spoke to in terms of those in the house, about where Meyiwa was shot. And many of the answers that Mosia is giving alludes to the fact that he relied heavily on Brigadier Ndlovu, who was the first police officer at the scene. And he says that because he was the first officer at the scene, he was essentially taking instructions and getting the information about what transpired from him. He never, in terms of his own investigations, inquired from the people in the house about what happened, but also conceding to the question that he never took swabs of gunshot residue of those in the house to rule out that any of them may have actually fired the shot. Let's take a listen.
Forensic expert who was at the scene, don't you think that that evidence would have assisted this court to see if there is anyone who fired shots inside the house where the deceased was shot?
Gobane wena jwalo ka mofuputsi ebile o le setsebi sa ba forensic a fihlileng pele sebakeng sa ketsahalo o hlolehile hore o ka nka diphuputso tseo kapa masaledi ao a sethunya ha o nahane hore seo nka be se thusa le khotla haholo hore re kgone ho tseba hore ho batho ba ne ba le ka hare ho ntlo ha hona ya thuntseng na
ho jwalo mre
it is true to that help.
Kuyiqiniswa ukuthi labo bufakazi buzoyisiza ke lenkantolo ukuyitshengisa noma ukuyikhombusa ukuthi mhlasimbe noma mhlambe akekho na kulabo ababephakathi endini owadubula.
And as a result of such an omission on your part to conduct the investigation of the prime residue, there is no evidence to say or to prove if anyone from the house fired the shot as a result of the omission, your omission.
All right, so we saw that bit of a delay this morning happening. Advocate Defo for accused 1 to 4 making a certain application. What was this about?
Well, more of a submission, Maseko, as opposed to an application, because no formal papers were actually filed in terms of the submission. Advocate Malisala Defo, before Mshololo could continue with her cross-examination, saying that the continuation of cross-examination of Mosia was actually futile, saying that he was demanding now a trial within a trial because there is allegations of confessions that were made by accused 1 and 2. But adding to that, during the first appearance of the accused in the Boksburg Magistrates Court, he says that his clients did not have their rights read to them, meaning that this entire process really from the very beginning has been flawed. The state has of course responded as well as Mshololo, saying that in terms of a formal application, nothing is before the courts, and at this point the state has not introduced any confessions at this point. Let's take a listen.
Wait through the submissions just to try and establish what is the nature of the relief that he's seeking, because at first blush, my lord, my understanding was that he's saying that the accused are wrongly before this court, they are wrongly brought before this court, and I thought, well, if that is the contention, then, proper affidavits will have to be filed, a notice of motion will have to be brought, and charge sheets filed. But when I thought that was the contention, then the issue of the confession, was raised. All I'm saying, in short, my lord, is it's not clear to me at this stage as what is the nature of, the relief that is being sought. But be that as it may, my lord, we are of the view that if the question is whether the accused are properly before this court, then that is the issue that will have to be brought by a notice of motion supported by the necessary affidavit. If the issue is the admissibility of any statements that might have been made by the accused, we will cross that bridge when we get there during the trial within the trial.
Right, so proceedings adjourning early today. Give us more information about that.
So we had taken a short adjournment in terms of, during the cross-examination rather, of Musia. And what Mshololo had realized, I think, as Musia was responding, is that his answers were not coherent. So she asked Musia if he's okay, and he said that he was tired. And at that point, she asked that we adjourn just to establish exactly whether he is fit enough to be able to continue with the cross-examination. And during that short adjournment, counsel then consulted with each other and with Musia, and he then revealed that he had taken some medication today that seemingly was having some adverse effects on him. And so the decision was then taken that we should rather, for the interest of justice, to postpone the matter until Monday, and hopefully by then Musia would be in a better position to continue with cross-examination. But if he is not, then there is a possibility that another witness may be called to allow Musia then to be able to come back at a later stage. But at this point, we understand that we will resume with the trial on Monday, where we are expecting Tifo, who's requested a meeting with counsel in chambers with the judge before we start with proceedings. So we expect to resume at around 10 a.m. With Musia, hopefully, if he is feeling better, back in the witness box.
All right, Slindelo Masikane at the High Court in Pretoria. Let's leave it there for now.